Hi folks, Andreas Metzen here from Carp Momentum Advisory. In today's video, I want to talk about consciousness in our universe. It's going to be one of a couple of videos that I will do separately. This one is the introduction. It's about consciousness in terms of quantum physics, evolution, brain, and mind. So, is our consciousness a quantum mechanical effect? And what does it mean for our universe? This is the introduction video, so let's get right to it. So, to give you a bit of a background on, where does my knowledge come from in this area, so to say, you have to understand that I've been always interested in physics, astrophysics, and cosmology, and that kind of ended me up in giving lectures at the local observatory here a couple of years back. You see some of the titles here that I've given lectures on. 1 and 215 was about galaxies in a sense, and kind of traveling from Earth all the way out to the far side of the universe. It was about SpaceX's push for making humanity a multi-planetary species. I talked a bit about quantum and the lotus, I called it, the voyage to the borders of science and ancient wisdoms. If you listen to my ramble video on consciousness, that's kind of where that lecture came from. I gave a lecture on conformal cyclic cosmology. I also want to make a video of that one as well. Also a theory of Roger Penrose, where he postulates that there is a cyclic universe that has eons repeating one after the other in a cyclic fashion. I also gave the lecture in a way that I'm making a video here off from 2 times in 2019. I decided to, transfer it into English and make it available here on the Seize the Moment YouTube channel for everybody to enjoy and to look at. It's quite a bit of work because it compromises speeches and lectures given by Penrose and Hamroff. You will see who those gentlemen are in a moment, and kind of tries to summarize and make sense of it. I had also organized an event in 2019 in the city here, quite a large event on space travel in a way, and awesome pictures from a local observatory member who's meanwhile the chair of the observatory. And in 2016, I had opened also a Facebook page called Astrophysics and Cosmology. By now I have 10,000 followers there. So this topic of astrophysics and cosmology always has interested me. You have to understand, I'm not a scientist. I'm a layman, so to say, in terms of that. I'm trying to do my best to, first of all, understand these topics myself, and then try to explain them so that they make sense to you, because I'm also trying to make sense of it myself. And these presentations, in a way, these talks have been, in essence, the result of my work and my path of trying to understand it. So if I talk nonsense, forgive me. Feel free to correct me in the comments, or also to praise me if I do something well in terms of explaining maybe a complicated topic in a good fashion. So the talk is about consciousness being a quantum mechanic effect, and what does it ultimately mean for us here and also for the universe. So there's quite a bit of chapters, so to say, to go through. I will separate them out in different videos, not to make one long video. It's also easier for me to produce because I can work with chunks and put them out there. I will give an introduction here just in a second for background and who's this theory from and what did I use to come up with the slides here. I'll talk about quantum physics. It's quite important in quantum mechanics because there's a lot of language that, if you have never heard about it or heard some of it but don't, kind of get the basics, so it's difficult to follow maybe. So I'll try to do my best to explain those and give a background historically and also going forward so that some of these terms like a collapse of a wave function makes more sense to you. Then we'll talk about consciousness, mainly from the biology side, but also philosophical. Then we'll look at the brain and where consciousness also emerged. Then we'll look at structures in the brain called microtubules, and that in the sense of, is that where consciousness arises and memory maybe is stored. Look at the computing power of the brain, discuss the problem of superposition, which is a quantum physics problem in relationship here to the brain. Then we'll actually look at Orch OR. Then we'll look at benzene and the effect of that on consciousness. So that's an anesthesia. We'll look at practical applications and proofs and studies on this theory. And then next we'll look at the depth of consciousness and consciousness in terms of evolution, and then a summary. So this is, you see, it's quite a bit of stuff to go through and to understand and comprehend. So I will package as good as I can and deliver this in separate videos, and then probably in the end I'll cut one longer video to make the whole talk complete, so to say, in one video. So, introduction and background. Let's get to it. That's the main core here of this video that I want to give you on consciousness in the universe, so to say. So the theory is called Orchestrated Objective Reduction, or short Orch OR. And it's been developed by two gentlemen called Stuart Hamroff and Roger Penrose. Hamroff is an American, Penrose is a British gentleman. And they have worked together to create this theory. I will summarize the theory here, and there's going to be a lot of words that come out of quantum physics, so to say. So don't feel bad if you don't understand them right away. I hope that throughout the videos that follow, this slide becomes more clear, or if you revisit it later, that you fully understand it. But I want to give this summary because that's the essence of it, and kind of helps you orient yourself also to, throughout the other videos. So orchestrated object reduction happens in microtubules, a structure in the brain. It's actually a protein, and is a model that represents consciousness as a sequence of unpredictable self-selections in basic space-time geometry. That's a very explicit way of saying it's a quantum mechanic effect, which is the nature of consciousness. That will be the second point here. So consciousness does not arise from the connections of neurons, but is actually controlled by molecular structures, the microtubules, which also means consciousness is not an illusion that many philosophers have proposed. Is maybe consciousness an illusion? No, it is not. It's a quantum mechanic effect. It's orchestrated in a sense that it's controlled by the structures of the brain. It's objective because it's based on rules of quantum gravity. And reduction because the wave function collapses at the quantum level. So that's kind of the summary of Orch OR in a nutshell on one slide, so to say. So this proposal of orchestrated object reduction therefore extends across a considerable range of scientific fields and touches in kind of unconventional ways on the foundations of general relativity and quantum mechanics, as well as the relevant areas such as neuroscience, cognitive science, molecular biology, and philosophy. So it's kind of this all-encompassing, making sense and connecting all these different sciences in one. So who are these two gentlemen? Sir Roger Penrose is an English mathematician and theoretical physicist, highly respected, also a Nobel Prize winner. I will label him here the physicist for this videos. He's been curious also about consciousness, and for him the missing ingredient to explaining consciousness is a quantum mechanical effect, especially a form of a deterministic collapse of the wave function, which Penrose calls objective reduction. So that's kind of his piece in this in this theory is the physics of it. And the objective reduction is based on the interpretation of quantum gravity developed by him. So he developed these ideas without having a concrete suggestion as where to place these hypothetical processes in the brain, or anywhere for that matter. So Penrose made the theory that the brain performs these functions, and he also says that there's no finite algorithm which can perform the functions of the brain. That's kind of where it led him to this theory of consciousness being a quantum mechanical effect. So some thought processes are fundamentally non-algorithmic. So it means that such functions cannot be modeled on a so-called Turing machine. And I'll talk about this in his sections in a way of Orch OR in other videos. So the missing ingredient to physically realize these non-algorithmic calculations is essentially a quantum mechanical effect that is currently still unknown in detail. In particular, a form of deterministic collapse of the wave function, which he calls objective reduction. So again, it's based on the interpretation of quantum gravity that he looked at and said, well, there's something there to look at. And then Stuart Hameroff came in because they ultimately met, because of Hameroff reading one of his books, Penrose's books. And he then added the theories of microtubules that could be the place in the brain where quantum mechanics could work. So they both together formalized their ideas as the orchestrated objective reduction model of consciousness. Stuart Hameroff, also professor and doctor, a physician and professor, I said. He works in Arizona. He's 75 years old, or young as I prefer to call. Sir Roger Penrose is 92 already. He just recently had his birthday. My birthday wishes to Sir Roger Penrose. I'm amazed at 92 at his capabilities at such a high age is just amazing. And also Stuart Hameroff, I'm also very much amazed by both of their capabilities in their respective fields, and then the joint work they've done together. So Hameroff is a biologist, and like I said, works in the US in the state of Arizona. He added to Penrose's theories that the microtubules could be the place in the brain where quantum mechanics works. And microtubules, and we will discuss this in future videos, they are elements of the cytoskeleton, so networks in cells. And Hameroff says they serve as the information processing. And they're the basic units of information processing and not the nerve cells themselves. So over the years, because Hameroff had suggested these cytoskeletons, microtubules in the 90s already, over the years, and when they met, they formalized their theory, and it ended up in being top-notch scientific theory and being tested right now. And I'll talk about this at the end of the presentations when we talk about the practical aspects and studies. So this lecture is based on talks of both Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose. I used Hameroff's talk in 2015 and 2016, one in Moscow called "Is Quantum Physics Necessary to Understand the Phenomenon of Consciousness?" Also a very interesting title. And the 2015 talk, A Brief History of the Studies of Consciousness, during a Science and Non-Duality Conference in San Jose, California. It's also based on lectures that Sir Roger Penrose gave, and also books of his, The Emperor's New Mind and Shadows of the Mind, respectively 1989 and 1994. A talk he gave, or a lecture he gave in 2014, called Consciousness. That's the Consciousness and the Foundations of Physics. That's the lecture, and the paper actually that I also used and looked at. There's others, but one of them is Consciousness and the Universe, a review of the Orch OR theory. And I will put these links of these background material also in the description of the video. So last but not least, I also use two what I would call nonfiction info comics, Relativity, a graphic guide, and Quantum Theory, a graphic guide, because it has cute and usable, more easy to understand graphics to explain some of the complexities of these theories. So this is it in a nutshell for the introduction. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on the sequence of videos I will post now about this topic of consciousness and the Orch OR. So see you in the next video.